I'm Barbara. Welcome to Yes Spaces. Today I am one of Santa's elves and I am making these fun topiary candy trees for the holidays. They are fantastic decorations, they get kids super excited, and they make terrific hostess gifts. These small cones are $3.99 at your local craft store. Cover them with some icing and some candy and they are ready to go. The secret to having a really great topiary candy tree is the icing, because the icing, you can't think of it as something that tastes good, because in this case it's strictly your glue and you want it to be strong enough to hold that candy in place so the whole thing doesn't slide down to the bottom. So let me show you the secret of making the icing. We're going to start with 3 room temperature egg whites in the bowl. We're going to start beating those slowly, don't make it too high, and we're going to add 4 cups of powdered sugar, a little bit at a time so that it incorporates and doesn't snow all over your kitchen. Make sure you keep your beater speed from powdering you like mine is here. Then once we get about half of the powdered sugar in, we're going to use arrowroot. I like to put in 1/4 teaspoon. Just add it in and let it keep beating away. The secret to this icing is to beat it forever. So we're still incorporating here, playing with speeds up and down. Get all the rest of the powdered sugar in. And when you do, it's going to be really soupy at first. So just let it finish incorporating and then we'll take a look at it. So scrape down your sides to make sure you get everything in. And now comes the long process. I like to turn on the beaters and unload the dishwasher, clean the counters, do something else because it's going to take a long time. Let it go. So this is probably now about 2 to 3 minutes later, and you can still see that we're not anywhere close. If that icing's moving, we're not ready because that means your candy is going to be moving. Turn it back on, turn it high. So this is another 2 to 3 minutes later. This is what I call the soft peak stage. You can see it peaked, but then it fell right over. It's still got some fluidity to it. Let it go for another 2 to 3 minutes. This whole thing can take up to 10 minutes. It should be literally hard to pull the beater out of the frosting. And you can see that my peak moved a little bit, but not very much. And if I take this beater off and dip it in there, you can see how hard that frosting is to move. Now it's ready for candy. So once your icing is thick enough that you know for sure it's going to hold your candy in place, I like to actually start by giving the entire tree a light coating of the frosting, just so that you don't end up with any gaps. And I do that first and I let it dry. Then, while that's drying, I lay out the pattern and I play with the candies that I'm going to put onto the tree. I lay them out on the table first. In this case, I'm using parchment paper so that nothing sticks to it and I can pull it off. Each tree has an individual circle or square of parchment paper so I can turn it around without disrupting the whole table and get at it from all sides. Once I have the candy laid out in my pattern on the table, then I move to the tree. Now we're going to pretend that this entire thing is already covered with icing. I re-ice the area that I'm going to start with. In all cases, I like to start at the bottom and work up, because even if your icing is really stiff and you don't have gravity issues, putting a nice thick base and then building up from there will keep things from sliding or falling down. Now, like I did with these are pretzel M&Ms, and then I wrapped this tree in regular M&Ms and added some fun Christmas colored chocolate chips. I'm going to put a base around my tree with the chocolates. I'm going to use your traditional peppermint candies. The secret of buying the best peppermint candies for gingerbread houses and trees is to find the ones that have the color all the way into the middle versus the ones that just have the color on the edges. Unless you're trying to make wheels for a train or for a car, you want the color to go all the way through. So I'm going to be putting these all the way around my bottom edge to make a base on my tree. And when I get to the top, I'll do the same thing again. I'll be putting a small candy around the top, and the absolute secret to finishing these is you notice that foam topiaries don't have pointed tops. They're flat. You need to add something that looks like a finial or a tree topper to make them look really fantastic. So we've got our base. I start and just start at an angle because I know I'm going to want to go at an angle, and start staggering them up the tree. And I will get all of my chocolates into place before I come back and fill in with the small red dots. But you want to make sure and put your red dots in while your icing is still fresh. You don't want to have to add a big dollop of frosting in there just to hold this tiny little red accent. You're going to work your way all the way up. I think on this tree, when I get to the top, I will use the red and white version of those little kisses, or I guess they're not kisses. They look like mini kisses, but they're actually chocolate chips. I'll put those all the way around. You can tell this is just a fun holiday thing to do. Play with candy. Who wouldn't want to do this? You're Willy Wonka for the day. And give it a nice little topper. Maybe that, maybe one of my raspberry ones. Ooh, I know. Could do the one that had the white in the center with a raspberry topper. Yep, that's what we're gonna do. And it's gonna be darling. Let's take a look at the finished product.